Hi, English 213. I just have to break my segments up into two shorter versions so that YouTube will accept them. I'm not using sort of the paid for YouTube account, so I've got to go cheap. Anyway, so course syllabus, make sure you check out my instructor contact information. And then most of the information, the assignments for each week will post under the button called Learning Modules. The class is set up week by week, so the first module will be the first week, second module, and forward and forward. So I will open a new module each Monday morning at 10 a.m. The first module, like I said, is sort of an introduction to the course. So I'm asking you to review the syllabus. I'm asking you to make sure you've acquired the course textbooks. Make sure that you've taken the Blackboard quiz so you know how to navigate Blackboard, at least sort of foundationally. We'll continue sort of to work with Blackboard throughout the semester. I asked you to take a look at our discussion board. A lot of work that we're going to be doing to simulate class discussion is going to happen on the discussion board. So I've written a discussion board rubric that I want you to sort of know exactly how you're being measured and how your responses are being graded on the discussion board, because it's a big chunk of our work. I've also asked you to post your introduction. And I use an exercise that I really, really love since we're going to be creating art in this class. I think it's useful for you to think about a piece of art that has impacted you. And by art, I mean film, music, poetry, a short story, an essay, an exhibit you saw in a museum. Art has a really broad range. And I think it's a great way to introduce you to the class. This week I asked you to post an initial response by Thursday and then to respond to 2 of your peers by Sunday. So that's one of those deadlines when we use the discussion board. Sometimes I'll ask you to do your initial post by Thursday, and then so that we have time to respond to peers as well by the end of the week. It also kind of keeps you talking and engaging with the class midway through the week and not just leaving everything till Sunday, right? So take a look at the discussion board rubric, take a look at that introduction. It's important that you spend some time composing that introduction. It also serves as sort of your writing sample. It gives me a sense of how your writing is in the class and where you come from and where your writing has started. So take your time, make sure you edit for mechanics, make sure you edit for thoughtfulness, and make it a good first introduction of yourself. We're also going to start reading in the book. So there's when we read from the textbook Creative Writing, it kind of just gives you again a brief introduction of how to write poetry and fiction. So I'm having you read the first 30 pages or so, which they go by really quickly. It's a really user-friendly textbook, and be able to sort of apply some of those concepts in a quick short answer quiz. It just gives me a sense that you're understanding the reading before we move on. And then we're going to write a first poem, and we use the imitation poem as the first poem. And by imitation, I mean that you're going to select a poem from our anthology, a poet and poem, and you're going to work to kind of get a sense of how this poet sets up their poetry, how they construct it, how they choose language, what the tone is, how they use punctuation, how they break lines. I think it's good to sort of, your first poem, when you're kind of trying to make an original work for the first time, to sort of use a model. You're not copying the other person's poem, but you're paying attention to poem construction before you construct your first one. So take a look at the guidelines for poem one, in which I asked you to read an anthology poem, really review it for those things like line breaks and punctuation and word choice and overall structure, and then you're going to try to sort of imitate that style in your first poem. Your first poem can be subject matter about anything that you want. But I think using somebody else's published poem kind of helps you get thinking about how this is all supposed to look, especially if you've never written poetry before, which is okay. If you've never written really a poem in your life, or you've written maybe a poem in 7th grade to like a girl or a boy or whatever, that's okay. That a lot of us start in this creative writing class composing original work for the first time, so don't feel badly about that. So we always post all of our poetry or fiction that we write to the discussion board, because next week we'll do a peer review of the work that we've completed this week. So we will review our first poems next week. So I just ask that you upload the poem when you write it to the discussion board. So this week I'd like you to take a look at the course syllabus, discussion board guidelines, introduce yourself to the discussion board. Make sure you've bought the course textbooks. They're available in the bookstore. If you haven't ordered them yet, if you're trying to use something other than the bookstore, I'd be really careful, because we could be 2 or 3 weeks into the class by the time you get them, and we have a reading assignment this week. So make sure you figure out how to sort of get those books as quickly as you can. So you're going to do your reading assignment, assessment to make sure you're understanding course concepts. And then you're going to submit your first poem. So I wish you good luck this week. I will continue to check in throughout the week. Make sure you email me or call or stop in. And if you have any questions, don't go at it alone. I'm here to help. Really, really excited. And you'll find that I will be doing sort of a lot of the assignments right along with you. I'm almost done posting my introduction in my piece of art, so I will make sure I get that up ASAP. And I'm also looking forward to doing the first poem exercise with you as well. We'll see what we produce. So I'm really excited about teaching the class. Feel free to be in touch with me, and have a wonderful Monday.